Safety first. Alright everybody, so how are you all doing today? I am doing quite well. Got some things done, preparation for my move coming next weekend. And got some things done that needed to be done. But so I was watching a video, that was loud. Watching a video just about 10 minutes ago about Washington D.C. and Puerto Rico becoming a state or states. And Puerto Rico's been one that I've been thinking should be a state for a while now. Puerto Rico's always kind of acted like a 51st state, even though it's not technically a state. It's one of the main territories in the United States that most people recognize and things like that. And I've always thought Puerto Rico should become the 51st state. But Washington D.C. on the other hand, I totally disagreed about that. That should not become a state. Not at all. Washington D.C. was formed in 1790. Underneath oh god, I was just reading about this. Underneath an act that created the capital city of the United States. Because before 1790, the United States didn't have a capital. And Congress voted on it, and George Washington, I believe he was the one that signed the bill, making it a capital city. I could be wrong about that. Please don't. I'm chopping my head off if I'm wrong about that. But it was named after George Washington. And Wikipedia said Christopher Columbus, but I don't think it was actually named after Christopher Columbus. I don't think that's where the Columbia comes from. And I just totally disagree. It was meant to be a district city. It wasn't meant to be a state by any means. It was meant for us to hold the Capitol building, hold the White House, and yeah, that's pretty much all it was meant to do. Meant to be. It wasn't meant to be a state, and I think our founding fathers would be quite disappointed if it became a state. And I am on the just kind of a little irritated about it, because the only reason why it's pretty much inconsiderate of statehood is because of how liberal it is. It has never once in the last 30 years vote for a Republican. Even when Ronald Reagan nearly won unanimously, the only two areas that Ronald Reagan won was the only areas that Ronald Reagan did not win was Minnesota and D.C. And even then, D.C. Voted for the Democrat candidate by 80%. So that is some numbers for you right there. And it's always voted for Democrat candidates by 90% or above. That's the main reason why Democrats are pushing D.C. for statehood. Someone was calling me. And this is something that's just totally bothering me. And I'm just getting really upset that everyone is pushing for politics all together. And they're pushing for DC to become a state more over Puerto Rico. And I believe Puerto Rico is rightfully deserving of becoming a state, because DC was never meant to be a state. It was meant to be the capital city, and that was all. Meant to be a district. And we need to understand that we don't go changing around things just because it helps us politically. That is absolutely wrong and should not be called for. Like, seriously. And the reason why Puerto Rico isn't being pushed as much is because Puerto Rico is awfully more conservative than people would think. It would be more of a toss-up if it voted for Democrat or Republican. And that is it. Like, it might help out the Democrats in the short term if they... God, that lighting is absolutely terrible. That sun is just being blinding. And it may help out the Democrats short term, having the Democrats make a mistake that they would end up voting for the Democrats because of it. But say for 8 years after that, it would definitely be a toss-up. Without a question, be a toss-up. Blocking out the sun there. And I don't know. Do you guys think that DC should become a state? Or do you think it should just stay the way it is? Because I personally think it should stay the way it is. Yeah, keep its electoral count for the presidency. Because the people live in DC are living within the contiguous 48 states, just not happen to be living in a state, so they should have a voice for the president. But it was never meant to be a state, and that's just that. And but this is something that needs to be talked about and debated about. I don't know what the vote counts have to be like for it to be a state. I don't know if they need the supermajority of 2/3 or just a simple majority. That is something else that I'm going to have to look up and kind of get a better understanding of. But I don't personally think it should become a state, and I think it should stay exactly the way it is currently, and I am not happy with this way the sun is right now. And I'm sorry about that lighting, because it sucks. And traffic's not moving. Because when I move, it will be in the behind me, so it won't be bothering me the way it is. But we need to just have a conversation about this. And we need to get things more aligned and start thinking about how things would affect us more than politically. And if anyone out of all our territories is deserving of becoming a state, it should be Puerto Rico before everyone else. God dang this Californian. What the hell are you doing all the way up here? Why the hell is everyone cutting me off? I hate this portion of the road. Hey, my order's been picked up and taken to my grandma's house, because that's where I'm heading right now. But we need to just take a step back, and before admitting any other state way out, if it should become a state or not. Because the only reason Democrats are pushing for DC is politics, because it would earn them more Senate seats and one more House seat. So let's have a conversation, let's move things along, and let's think about what we're doing. Puerto Rico needs to become a state before DC, and that's my personal opinion. They've already had a referendum, and nearly in every referendum they've had since 2000 has said that they want to become a state. No matter how many votes they got, I think they had a referendum in 2020 last year where they had pretty much 53% voter turnout and about 55% saying that they wanted to become a state, which is over half their population, which already makes it a majority, and that lighting is so much better. Saying they want to become a state, so let's do it. Guess we'll have to change our flag again to add on another star, but I think Puerto Rico should become a state, and I think DC shouldn't become a state. And after Puerto Rico becomes a state, I really think the next state should be probably the Virgin Islands, because we actually do have quite a few territories that use our dollars, uses our taxpayer money, because they are territories which make them part of the U.S., but they don't have any say in the way things are done. They don't get a vote for any of our elections. Like DC, oh God, that's blinding me. DC, at least gets a vote in a presidential election. So, while DC gets a vote in our presidential election, they're not a state, so they don't get any House or Senate members, but they weren't meant to be like that. And our territories pretty much get jacked. They get representatives in the House, non-voting representatives, I may point out. They each get one non-voting representative to represent them. So they don't get any say in pretty much anything we do, other than pretty much say, hey, it would be in our best interest if you don't do that. And that's pretty much all they get out of it. And I think we should kind of reform that. DC even gets a non-voting representative in the House. I think we should the way we should reform it is that our territories who don't get any proper representation get one voting representative in the House. Because then they get a say in how we do things. Because they are a part of our country, whether they are a state or not. And that is something that make it more fair. Because currently Biden is currently their president. They are ran by us while also not getting a say in how we do things, and we need to change that. Just one voting representative. Pretty much say, hey, I don't like that. I'm going to vote no. Hey, that would help us out. Let's vote yes. One voting House member each. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm not. I'm essentially a constitutionalist and care more about the Constitution than I do do than anything else. And well, yeah, I guess that's my point of view on DC and Puerto Rico becoming states. And I know I did quite a bit of repeating myself, but oftentimes when I repeat myself, it actually helps me start thinking about other things to say. So, yeah, have a glorious day and love you guys.